Absolutely. Josh Rydell, 111 Southwest 6th Street on behalf of Hildebrand Amusement Inc.
I will state my normal statement about some of the times, especially since that second week kids are back at school. People are going, if they're home for Thanksgiving, that time is over. And that maybe we can close it down before midnight. I'm also going to ask, because it's getting longer and longer. I noticed the maximum setup day is 3. I know we usually allow more, but this time it's 10 to set it up. Why?
So traditionally, and this is something kind of that's gone on, you know, with your city manager's office, when we've set up and broken down, if there's a day or two layover for potentially one truck, there's been situations where one semi-truck trailer has just been on the property. Hasn't been a problem. It's just waiting for it to be picked up or dropped off. So just to be in full compliance, we are asking for a little more time. We don't anticipate, we believe we're fully set up within, you know, 5 days max, but we want to account for any trailers or anything like that coming in completely out of the way, not causing a nuisance or anything. And then regarding the times, board member Schwartz, obviously, I still have to go before the Margate, obviously all of you in your different capacity in a publicly noticed meeting in the evening and regarding the extension of the duration of the dates for your code, as well as the extension of the time for your code. So those two issues, hopefully we do get to bring before you sitting in your commission seats rather than your CRA seats.
So this is actually just the use of the property.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is that it?
Yeah, well, he knows how I feel about the time. So as I said,
Yeah.
that doesn't change for me, especially that extra week where kids are back at school.
Board Member Simone.
I have a question for the executive director. Are they paid up in full since the last carnival?
No, ma'am. And that was going to be a recommendation that I provided to you all that if you all do consider this, that you make it contingent upon the fair paying the balance that's due prior to this going before the commission for final approval.
And how much is due?
It's just under 30,000.
Thank you.
And that's from the spring break before.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that it, John? All right, at this point, I will open it up to the public. There's a motion and a second.
Donna Fellows, Margate resident. You all know how I feel about the affair, but guess what? Gonna shock you right now. I'm asking that maybe the Hildebrand amusement, whatever it is, and the CRA look into and try to meet to giving our homeless kids that are in our school system and our kids in need a time at the fair. Let them have a ticket, a ride band, and probably a food voucher so that these kids could enjoy the fair just like our kids could enjoy the fair. I think it's kind of sad that we have kids that are homeless living in cars and everywhere else, but I still think that we need to acknowledge them and give them a happy time. Just give them a day at the fair and that's it. If you all can please, and Hildebrand, if they would please consider this, then it's a great thing to have. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Schwartz.
I absolutely agree with you because, and I know that the mayor, the chair of the CRA has given out tickets. I've given out tickets, but I think that's a forgotten population. And I think that's a great idea. And I would guess that there would be agreement to do that.
Absolutely. I think it's a great idea. Every year, traditionally, we drop off a number of tickets, admission tickets for all the athletes and the students of the month. If somebody on staff, if Miss Rhodey, I see her over there, if she's able to give me a number of additional that you want to voucher out, maybe in talking to your school principals and things like that, that's a very
Generally, the
charitable
SRO,
contribution.
generally the SROs at each school will know. Because they do when we do shop with a hero for Christmas time. So great idea.
I also know Qantas is a 501(c)(3) and they do a lot with homeless and or children that are close to homeless. They bring food to the schools on a weekly basis. So I'm sure they know some families. Ron Huffman would probably, that's the last $500 of my $2,000 that we each get,
Contribution.
giving to them to give to food to children. So I'm sure they would know as well. But thank you for the offer and good idea. Yep, thank you.
Yeah, them as well.
All right, Board Member Simone.
So this board is going to approve a temporary use permit to a fair owner who owes us over $30,000. And I guess promises mean nothing, because I remember last fair that we were promised that we would have the money in full. And they've had plenty of time. I know 2 weeks ago, they did not have the money when this was on the agenda. And now 2 weeks passed, they still owe over $30,000. So how is this board approving this agreement with that kind of money being owed and having been promised that we would be made whole? I don't understand how this board can vote in favor of this.
I can only speak for myself, but I'm going to say that it does have to go back before the city commission. So at that point, it could be denied.
It should be denied at this board as well. Don't blame it on the city commission. We're the CRA, so it should be denied here and denied from the city commission, in my opinion.
Kel, is the money that's owed, is owed to the CRA?
No, the money is owed to the city.
Okay, so then this is not a CRA issue technically. Board Member Osorio.
To add on to what you said, Mr. Chair, we could also make it part of the condition of approval. Because as much as I love Mr. Bass and I support the fair, the money is an issue and we should be made whole on that prior to opening of the fair.
Board Member Schwartz.
So I'm going to make an amendment. And my amendment is going to be that it does not come before the city commission until such time as that money is reimbursed. So that way it's over, it's done with, and that it be incorporated the next time that says there's whether it's 30 days, whatever it is, that gets taken care of. So if this should come before us again at any other time, this is no longer a conversation. Joanne, you understand what I'm saying?
I understand, and I totally disagree. I don't think anybody who owes us money, it should be contingent upon him paying. He's had plenty of time to pay, and this is not the first time that he has been late in paying us.
Okay.
So enough is enough already.
Well, that would be my amendment, that it doesn't even make it to the city commission unless all outstanding debts are paid. And if it doesn't make it to the city commission, it doesn't go any further. That died.
No second.
Are you still up early?
I
Oh,
was
no,
gonna say,
I'm sorry.
I didn't second it here. Like the chair said, I think this is a city thing, but I'll be the first to say that at the city level, I would not approve it unless we're paid in full or had some type of condition on there. But I don't see why we should just stop the process tonight.
I'm not
Or
stopping
this
the
afternoon.
process. I'm just simply saying it doesn't go any further unless that's done, because clearly if it comes in front of the city commission, I would expect the city commission to vote absolutely no.
Correct.
So why not tell the person in advance, if you don't do this, don't even do the other thing, don't get embarrassed and don't embarrass us.
Well, I think we're telling them that.
I'm sure they're hearing that now, but I just simply was making it provision, but if you don't want to do it, that's okay.
All right, public, is there anybody else that would like to speak on this item? Call the roll.
Board Member Simone?
Nope.
Board Member Serio?
Yes.
Board Member Schwartz?
Because you didn't like my condition, no.
Board Member Schwartz, yes?
No.
No.
No. Vice Chair Caggiano?
Yes.
Chair Rosano?
Yes.
Motion passes 3-2.
All right, now we're gonna go to item 2B. Which is, city manager, city, Cal, would you like to take over?
Yes, sure. So we've got Colliers, Mr. Ken Krasnow and Brooke Moser from Colliers here to go over a summary of the proposals that we received for Margate City Center. We received 6 proposals, all of them very good. What we'd like to do here today is get some direction from this board to shortlist those firms so that we can dive in deeper with them and get kind of a better details of what they propose that better align with our vision. But before we get into shortlisting, I'd like to turn it over to Ken and maybe walk us through the summary report or answer any questions you all have on that. And then we can go from there.
Okay. Thank you, Cal. Again, for the record, Ken Krasnow, Vice Chairman of Colliers, Chair, Vice Chair, board members, happy to be here. As Cal mentioned, bids were due just about a month ago, and we did receive 6 qualified proposals from very strong development groups. So today is really just to give you an overview. I presume the full packet and the details of all the proposals have been sent to you. You've gone through them. So today, as I said, is just really an overview to give you an overview of the groups that are proposing, some preliminary perspectives on their plan. Today is not a time, as Cal mentioned, where we're picking a group or we're picking a project. This is the start of a long process that'll be very detailed, very methodical, very thoughtful, very strategic. But we want to sort of get some direction from you based on what the initial market responses have been, so that then we can better inform the shortlisted groups in terms of some of the directions and directives that you are looking for, so that the next round of proposals will be, again, much more detailed and much more presumably in line with some of your thoughts and thinking. So with that, you guys can see this, right? So, okay. So this is an overview of the 6 groups, and I apologize, I'm gonna have to. I just want to make sure for the record, and I'm clear, these are in alphabetical order. We're not ranking any of these proposals today. We're not giving you the good, bad, or the indifferent. We're really just giving you a synopsis. So in alphabetical order, submittals were received from Brookfield Properties, which, as you can see, is based in New York City. D.R. Horton, which I'm sure you're familiar with, home builder locally here in Coconut Creek, but based in Texas. Kenco Communities, another South Florida builder based in West Palm Beach. The Michaels Organization, which might be a new name for some of you, based in Camden, New Jersey. The Related Group, not an unfamiliar name to a lot of you, based down in Miami. And Sonnenblick Development, who is based out in Pacific Palisades, California. So a wide variety of groups from local, regional, and nationally. What I'm going to do now is just give you a quick little overview of the submissions. And again, I've been before you numerous times. I feel if you have a question, don't hesitate just to stop me, and we can go from there. So again, in alphabetical order, I'm starting with Brookfield Properties. So Brookfield is a global real estate firm that currently has about $2 billion of assets under management. As you can see, they've got extensive public-private experiences, about 50 million square feet of public private experience. They have as part of their team, a well-respected architectural firm, CBA Architects. And then as you can see, and that was detailed more in their proposal, and this is the overview of every proposer that we're going to give you today. They've listed some of their relevant project experience. And so we've highlighted a few of them here. The Yards in Washington, DC, Marion at Central Park, which is in Denver, Colorado, and Halley Rise, which is just outside Virginia. Strong mixed use projects, experience, etc. We did highlight a few things in our initial review of these proposals that we would then obviously look to go back to if this firm was shortlisted. So some of the proposers, and if you noticed here, did not include a relocation or an incorporation of some of the city facilities. So sometimes that's just an oversight, sometimes it was intentional, but obviously an area that we would go back to them with. And then with most of the other proposals, this one included additional, conceptual plans and much more detail on the vision we think would be required in the next step. And then from a development perspective, Brookfield doesn't have a tremendous amount of South Florida development experience, although they are, huge owners in South Florida. They own, Meisner Park and some major projects in South Florida. The next slide gives you a little bit perspective of their initial vision of this project. Again, I'm not going to get into too much of the details of these particular visions because I don't want to get caught up in how many units or where the retail is or how come it's over on this side, because this is really the first foray. It gives you a sense of where each of the developers view the sites and where they would position some of their activity, but all of them have indicated that this is obviously their first brush, and if invited back into the short round, would incorporate your comments and put more detail into their next round of proposals.
So just for people listening, and what we're looking to do is just shortlist the top firms that are capable of producing a product that we would be happy with. And they're not going to invest time and money in going through these detailed renderings and such until they know they're on the short list.
That's correct.
And we'll see in future presentations, like there was one that looked like they turned in a site plan with crayons, right? So that would probably, I would bet it's going to be, right. So we're weeding out kind of the nonsense and getting the real players involved.
That would be our recommendation. Again, we're subject to your direction. But our recommendation would be that after you understand a little bit about the players, a little bit about their vision, that we then shortlist it so that they can then invest the time and the money and the resources to bring back a more, and then at that stage, and I'm sort of going to the end here, but at that stage, we would then expect that each of these groups would come in, would make formal presentations to the CRA, to the city board, and then there would be, even, a next phase after that. But yeah, so today is really just giving you an overview of the 6 bidders. We can answer some questions if you have some, but that's why we didn't really show you all of the pictures and stuff that they submitted, because again, this was their sort of initial foray into incorporating some of our perspectives and what we outlined in the offering memorandum. And again, I think you can see the way they're shaping the vision of their project, but by no means is this their final product.
So my question would be then the picture I see in the lower left-hand side, that's just a picture, because for the life of me, I'm trying to figure out where we have land that's shaped like that. So I'm guessing it's just a picture.
The triangle
Yes.
part with the
Yeah.
park, yes.
Yeah, because I've been racking
Yeah.
my brain is trying to figure out, and I've seen that on more than one of these and asked myself, where exactly is that?
Yeah, I think conceptually, they're trying to show you that they're incorporating, an open space and
Right.
how the open space would be
Okay, So I
incorporated,
will take it for
into
that.
the
phrase.
project. Yes.
Got it.
Okay. So yeah, not, some are a little more specific than others, but again, that's generally speaking,
Okay, thank you.
what we're doing here today.
I can-
Um, Okay, so the first submitter was Brookfield Properties, as I mentioned. Second submittal was DR Horton. Again, I'm sure you're familiar with DR Horton, the largest home builder in the United States. They do have some mixed-use experience, which we've outlined here. A project down in Homestead, West Palm Beach, and to a lesser degree in Pembroke Pines. So they did propose on a portion of the development, as you can see in the submittal, the main 17-acre piece and then the 5-acre piece on Margate Boulevard. So obviously one area, if they were shortlisted, that we would go back to in terms of do they have vision or perspective for more of the land. The other thing that was concerning, and again, something that they reiterated, they offered a fee simple purchase, and we went back and we made sure that every bidder understood that it was a ground lease, but they were insistent that it was a fee simple purchase only. And again, their vision was more in the townhome with retail, related retail around it. And so that is the submittal from DR Horton. The next submitter, this is the DR Horton sort of conceptual of the two main pieces that they were considering. The next one is Kenco Communities. Kenco is a regional luxury home builder who also has some solid mixed use experience. As you can see, they've got two principal partners that are part of their team, Development, which is Uri Mann, who's been part of some projects like Downtown Doral, I think was partners with one of the other bidders here. And Urban Design is their, let's call it their crayon collector. No, I'm just kidding. So as you can see from some of their project experience, they've built some, very, very high-end luxury home developments here. You're probably familiar with Avenir up in Palm Beach Gardens. It's a well-known luxury development. And they've built a number of others there. The latest is Water Tower Commons in Lantana, which is again primarily residential with retail along the front. Again, we're a little concerned about the lack of inclusion with the government facilities with Kenco. That would be an area we would want to go back to them with. And obviously, they'd have to sharpen their crayons for the next round if they were to be included. Yeah, the lines are in. Yes. And again, I think from a visioning perspective, this gives you a vision of how they see the project. Obviously, not of the level of conceptuals that some of the other bidders had proposed. But generally speaking, it's this one I do point out did include a hotel component. But again, all of those components, whether hotel was included in somebody's vision or not, again, could be part of the next round, depending on your perspective. The next group is a name that you may not be that familiar with. It's called the Michaels organization. They're a 60-year-old multifamily mixed-use developer based in Camden, New Jersey. Very large company, one of the largest home builder, multifamily builders in the country. They've got $12 billion of assets under management. A very, very deep organization. Again, just because they're not as known here in South Florida doesn't diminish their abilities and capabilities. So again, a lot of project experience is outlined in their proposal. Couple of projects that are obviously here locally. There's a Belmont Heights project in Tampa. They're also working on an affordable component for Disney. So they've also built out a pretty in-depth project team with WDG architecture. That's a mouthful. They also have a civil engineer and a landscape architect on team. And they've brought on a partner that is specifically focused in the financing of municipal buildings in the public-private sector partnership, this Provident Resources Group. Interestingly enough, this group also brought on an art consultant, which I don't know if that was brought out in the proposal, but again, one of the areas we emphasized to the bidders was the aesthetics and including art type of elements as part of their project. So very strong and very deep organization. Again, one of the areas of concern that we would want to explore in the next round, if they were to be shortlisted, would be their ability to execute on a local level. I do point out that the head of development for this organization is based here in South Florida and is very well known to a lot of you. Used to run the Falcone organization and has been with Michaels for about a year. So his mandate is to get Michaels on the map, and they're using this project as a way to do that.
If you didn't mention it, I believe this is the one that did, not to say that others can't, but in their initial submittal, they did mention moving or making a new city hall.
Yes, yeah. So again, one of their partners is solely focused in the municipal space, financing public buildings, libraries, schools, city halls, etc. So yeah, part of their plan is to incorporate a new, not to say, as you mentioned, board member Osorio, that the others couldn't be told that's what you want and how they would incorporate it, but they took the initiative to incorporate a new developed city hall as part of the conceptual plan. So again, this is just some of their highlights, but the vision and the conceptual plan, as you can see, based on the team that they've brought on, is pretty well thought out. Little more detail. Yes. Question. No, I saw your finger.
I see on here, they do have that component. Your button. They do have that component on Lemon Tree Lake on this drawing here.
Yes.
Which I don't know if people are aware or not, but there was an attorney that was hired. There's some people that want to convert that into condos. And I said, well, before you do that, why don't you reach out to the people involved in the city center? Because I think that it could be better well served for the city if we can get it, or if the developer can get that piece of property and you have some type of lakefront dining or shopping there. So I see that they incorporated this in, and it's my understanding that if others are shortlisted, they would pursue obtaining that property as well, but they didn't want to go through that process unless they know they're on the short list. Is that correct?
Yes. So there's a there's a process that owner of that ALF is going through. And our goal would be to take the short list and get them inserted into that process as quickly as possible. Most people that we've spoken to believe that incorporating that and incorporating the lake and potential, it has, very strong merit and consideration. Obviously, the devil's in the details, and
Right.
it'd be great if the city owned it, but you don't. So I mean, it's something that we have to add to the equation. But the developers understand the benefit of potentially incorporating that group. This group went a little bit further, just showing how it could be incorporated, but I think it's conceptually everybody would feel in the same way. So I mentioned City Hall, part of this plan, incorporating the ALF. Okay. The next group, and no stranger. By the way, I just want to say, as I'm talking about, some of these groups, you should feel very, very proud of a lot of the work that you've done and a lot of the groundwork that you've laid over the years to get to this point. A lot of these names that we're talking about, and I mentioned as I'm coming up on related group, are groups that you would love to incorporate as partners in being a part of redevelop. And the fact that they're showing this level of interest in your city and in this development is kudos to you, the CRA board, and the city commission for positioning yourselves at this level. So related group, obviously no stranger to many of you and many of the people that might be listening. One of the strongest development groups, not only in Florida and in the Southeast, but in the country. So an extremely long and deep experience of doing mixed use public-private partnership developments. We've listed just a sum of the projects there, but you look at a project like a City Place Doral, the Manor at Flagler Village, which I think you actually toured or went on a little field trip of, but a long history of incorporating high quality design standards with purposefully built community spaces. So the company profile, the experience is obviously of no concern to us. One area that we would want to follow up with, if you noticed in the proposal, they're very focused on what I would call the first phase of the project. They detailed their plan, as you can see. This is some examples of, like City Place Doral. And again, if you've been to any of these projects, they're vibrant, the kind of community activated spaces that we're looking for here. But as you can see, they dug in on what I will call the core, the core space. They're talking and they're interested in what they would call future phases. But again, we would probably want a little bit more detail and certainty, commitment around, what the rest of those phases would look like. So as you can see, they also have a well-known and well-respected architectural firm, MSA Architects, as part of their team. And that first phase, that core 17-acre piece, as you can see, incorporates retail, multifamily, and what they would call a central park, kind of gathering spot. And then the other phases would include some combination of, grocer, mixed use, retail, residential. So again, not to get into too much detail on the project itself, but we would want to get a little bit more certainty and clarity around the entire project. Yes, ma'am.
Speaking for myself, my biggest complaint about Margate is that when you look around at a 69-year-old city, you see this piece from here, this piece from there. So in order for me to consider them, as important as their name may be, it has to be a total package, because the last thing I want is one part that looks like this and another part that looks a different way and looks like we just threw together something that's a 20-year-old process, or rather promise to people. So.
And again, in fairness, I think our conversations with them, that's their intention. But I think for the purposes of submitting here, the level of detail was not at the level that we would want to see for the entirety of the
It just
project.
didn't look like there was any great commitment, and remembering the prior lawsuit, there was this part here, this part there, maybe that part there.
Oh, we forgot that lawsuit.
Well, when you win, you don't forget it. When you lose, you forget it. But I remember at the time speaking to the attorney who's no
Yeah.
longer with us, who basically said, no, we'll make it as it goes along. And I said, nah, that's what the city already looks like.
Yep.
So it would be really important to me that even though there's nothing there, that it is something considered within the entire contract before I would say, great idea.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. And then last, we have Sonnenblick Development. Sonnenblick is primarily based out in the West Coast, although as a principal, Mr. Sonnenblick has been involved in several developments, here in South Florida. I'm sure you saw as part of his project team, he's engaged Kobe Karp as his architect, and a lot of the visuals and the renderings and so on and so forth that you saw are part of Kobe's design studio. We're certainly we don't when we if you remember when we started this process, we said we weren't going to be swayed by a bunch of pretty pictures. We wanted to make sure that we had the team and the partner that was committed to you and to this community and had the ability to execute and be here for the long term. So while some of the visuals and so on and so forth that you saw and that were part of the package are compelling, some of our concerns was this proposal was kind of put together with little cut and paste from other proposals, and we're not really, back to your comment, a board member, about the commitment on the project for future phases. One of our concerns clearly is a commitment on seeing this project through to its conclusion. So, I mean, Kobe Karp is a wonderful design architect. He's done some iconic buildings and facilities in this area. Their site plan, again, is I don't want to get too much into the weeds on it, but it's a little different than some of the others. And again, some of it was put together from different pieces in different places. Yes.
It's really unique project that they're proposing, at least in the renderings. Just like you said, one of my concerns as a real estate broker, it reminds me of when I list properties and someone doesn't even look at the property and then they bid over asking price with everything the seller wants. And I've learned over time that they do that just to lock up the project and then they try to nitpick later on.
Yeah.
Are they actually, as much as I think this is really cool, it's probably not realistic to implement, but are they realistic? And if they were shortlisted, toning it down, or do you think it's not worth our time?
I mean, some of the issues, again, in terms of ability to execute a project of this scale, we have serious
Okay.
concerns about. For instance, if you looked at at the site plan, there's a 500-room hotel.
Yeah.
Okay, now
That's right.
that's not
Realistic?
okay. So again, this is also, so again, I'm not here to tell you who to shortlist, how to shortlist. If
Sure.
you want to shortlist at all, I mean, that's really, our recommendation, but obviously, this was really just to give you an overview of, I think you have some good but difficult, initial choices to make. And again, I emphasize that this is an initial choice. But as you can see, our kind of recommendation would be to shortlist. The number is up to you. So that we can then go back to these groups with a little bit more concrete direction from you. Have them spend a little bit more time and resources defining their proposal. You'll notice we didn't get into even some of the, financial components, which would be part and parcel, a primary part of our next round. But today was really just to, give them that direction, also start conversations again, potentially around, the ALF, but give a shortlisted group of firms some direction that you want to engage with them in serious, meaningful conversations so that they feel comfortable expending, time and resources. And then ultimately they would, like I said, submit a revised package. We will put together an analysis of that, including, financials, because we would expect detailed financials as part of that. And then each of those shortlisted groups would then come in and make presentations to you, and you would be able to ask questions to the proposers directly.
This one was interesting because when I was counting up residential units and then parking spots, there was a big difference in what I was looking at from one number to the other. And granted, I was using a magnifying glass. Granted, I was using a magnifying glass because I had them all printed out. And, but I'm like, I can't be that far off. So, yeah, I'd be interested in seeing how they could do that.
So that is, again, an overview. I kind of want to reemphasize. There's some very strong quality groups in there that warrant further consideration and direction from you. But they are all, some of them are here today. They're all very interested about being engaged in this community. Again, I think that's an exciting step in the right direction that'll hopefully get us to finding you, a quality partner over the next couple of months. So that's kind of where we stand today, and I'm happy to take questions, direction, etc.
I've narrowed down my list to 3, so I'm good for whenever we're going to take a poll.
Board Member Sarah.
Thank you. So a couple comments, and I have my 3 here, but as I had mentioned and Ken confirmed, the goal for me at least is to just narrow down who's financially and physically capable of executing a project of this magnitude. And looking at, who listened. I can tell just from these proposals who listened and who didn't. There's a couple that I just don't know if they're the right fit. And that's not to say that they won't have a part in this. I'm sure there'll be a master developer. Like, for example, I'm not a fan of the DR Hortons being the master developer for this project, but I wouldn't be surprised if they develop some of the residential units there. So I don't want to knock them. They're local here, and so I would welcome them to maybe be involved in the project somehow, but I don't think they're the right fit. The three that I have is Brookfield, just based on their size and the projects they've done in the past. Related Group. I like the modern look of their projects, as well as they have this like really cool fountain in the Doral project that I've always talked about having some type of sense of place. And I've used City Place in downtown West Palm, where they've got the light up tree and the splash pad, and it's a center point where people of all ages can go and meet up, and whether it's before dinner or after dinner, sit down, watch the grandkids while they play. And I like Michael's. So Brookfield, Related, and Michael's. I gotta give credit to Michael's. I think just right off the bat, they listened the most. They already incorporated the city hall. And they incorporated the ALF. Now, I'm sure if we agree on Brookfield Related to Michael's, I'm sure the other two will incorporate that ALF, and the plan might change because now you're incorporating a large lake into the project. But those would be my three, and just some general topics. And again, they're gonna come back. They're gonna probably meet with all of us individually, meet with the community, meet with us as a group. But right, as the process moves forward, but some of the things that I'm looking for is absolutely, I'm extremely interested in a new type of city hall facility, as well as a community center. I think it's so important for us to have a community center. I'm surprised we don't have one already here in the city. Very modern look. I like buildings with glass, different setbacks and such, so that it's just not, and I'm not gonna knock one of our neighboring cities that's building a downtown to the east of us, but it's just a very square building with little windows. There's nothing nice about it. So modern look, city hall, community center, something, and I just lost my screen, but within the downtown, whether it's a big central park that was mentioned in one of them, or a big fountain or gathering point, some type of central gathering point it should have. When we talk about mixed use and we talk about retail, just from my experience, I'm more interested in the entertainment stuff. All these little knickknack shops, no offense if that's.
They don't make it.
Yeah, I mean, I see them in other cities, downtowns, they're empty, they go in and out of business. I'm looking for entertainment, a food hall, a brewery, multiple restaurants, a place that people want to go and hang out and have a good time here in Margate, not having to go to Boca, Del Rey, Coral Springs, Coconut Creek to do. And I really, and of course, not a 500 unit hotel, but I'm really interested in some sort of hotel component as well. So those are just my thoughts, but just to recap, Brookfield, Related, and Michael's.
And for me, it's Brookfield, Michael's, and Related on my list. I had it coming in. And the one big thing, since I'm on the Water Advisory Board, is that we build it in such a way that it can maintain the sea level rise. So we have to go with the 100-year flood maps and build it higher. I just don't want to spend all this time, money, and effort on something that's going to be underwater because we didn't plan correctly.
I think you'll notice, I mean, we'll ask for a little bit more specificity, but I think you'll notice in the proposals, several of the groups, addressed sustainability and
Right,
and how.
they use that word, yeah.
But
I just want to make sure that sustainability
I
and
think-
building the flood maps, because these 100-year floods are happening a lot quicker than 100 years. So we need to use that, I believe, as the baseline.
Good point.
I can have a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
I heard you mention one of them has done a private, public-private partnership. Is that is there only one company that's been involved with that?
No. They've, the three that you just mentioned, I think all of them have done public-private. I have to
Okay,
check.
I just saw it on the one and you brought that up. The units, has anybody even looked at or considered how many units we could put here? Because everyone that I looked at is totally dense and way more units than what we're allowed. So have they considered that when they did these preliminaries?
To a degree, yes.
Okay,
But
a couple more questions. I don't think any of them listened to anything I said. So I'm gonna repeat a couple of things.
Yep, good.
First off, the density.
Mhm.
It's way too dense. Every one of these that we've looked at is way too dense. The financials, one of my biggest things that I want to see. Not one of them has included any financials.
Well,
The county regulations that I keep stressing, not one of these drawings even had a retention area for surface water, which could be up to 5-10 acres. Some other things that I haven't addressed that I will address tonight.
Yep.
The existing Ace Plaza. I'm hearing from a lot of residents how maybe we should possibly keep that as a original piece of Margate. So it's something that I probably will consider
I do
pushing
like
for.
that, by the way.
What's that?
I've mentioned that, yeah, I like that, keeping the East Plaza
You mean
would be,
historic.
yeah. I think that would be, if they can do that, that'd be really neat.
interesting.
All right, what else do I have here? Recently went out to Las Vegas and there was a development out there. And it's a golf thing. People are talking about a destination in Margate. Pop Stroke Golf is the latest thing that's coming out. It's awesome. There's one in West Palm Beach. I highly consider everybody go look at it. They have restaurants, bars, playgrounds, ice cream, music, and even a rooftop pool, from what I've been told. I would like to consider something like that in the downtown area. The one that's in West Palm Beach is about a little under 4 acres.
Mhm.
So if we can bring something like that, I think that would nail a lot of the things that I've been looking for, which is shopping, well, dining, hanging out, and a destination.
Mhm.
What else do I have here? The hotel, I don't really know. Commissioner Sarah, you heard you say the hotel. I don't really know, like, the people that would stay in the hood. When I heard Coconut Creek was putting up the second hotel, I still don't really know who goes there and the people, so I don't know. So if you could sell me on that, I would love to.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a must-have, but it's something that I would entertain. You know, it would probably be like a boutique style hotel. Maybe 100 units, something like that, smaller. But just, I mean, if I'm going under the assumption this is gonna be better than all the downtowns in the surrounding cities. And so the goal is to make Margate a destination, but we just have little motels. And nothing against them. I know some of those owners, they're great people, but so it would, to me, a boutique hotel, but that's not a must-have. It's just something that I would like to explore further.
Okay, I understand what you're saying now. So we're not talking about a monster hotel, okay?
No,
All right.
kind of like the Ray and Del Rey or something like that.
Gotcha.
Small boutique.
And I got to say, I'm very impressed with the Michael's presentation with the water feature. One of my biggest things was the water feature. And eventually connecting the 5 or 6 cities that all share the same waterways as the city of Margate. That's one of my biggest things. So I do like that the Michaels group incorporated that. I don't know if you can ask the others if they would consider it, but I would highly think that'd be a great selling point from discussing it with the executive director on what it could be on that waterfront. The other company I did like was the Brookfield. Was it Brookfield? I can't even read my writing. The related group as well, and also the Sonneblick. I like their design. So
You're talking about the one with the white buildings?
yeah, I like
it too. If they can be realistic, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to putting them through the next round with the understanding that, you know,
Fine tooth comb.
correct.
Yeah, and I understand the property over there. It's not in the CRA, the ALF. But like, board member Sarah said a couple meetings ago, you know, we can negotiate, we can do things. I know we talked and the city's really not putting out that much. So if we need to incorporate a garage or the city needs to pick something up on its end, I'm sure we can come up with that. That's probably your expertise for the negotiating. So I think this is a great step. I can't wait till we go further and further. But I can definitely see that this is just gonna be, it's not gonna be smooth. I can guarantee you that, but at the end, we'll have
Should be
something that.
And Chair, just to add to the negotiation piece, even though we don't own that ALF, and even though that ALF's not in the CRA, so we couldn't really use our funds for that. And I don't want to give too much details away publicly because I don't want someone there to swoop in and try to take the property, but they're negotiating like, a couple $1 million discrepancy to getting that property.
Mhm.
And so if the city offers that difference within the CRA, which would offset their cost to then bid higher on that property. So like you said, if we were to build the garage or give them some type of incentive within the CRA to free up their budget to then buy that piece of property.
Exactly. I think you mentioned it a couple meetings ago when we were discussing at I don't know if it was commission or CRA about doing the underground electric. So it's a tab that the CRA, Kim? The CRA will be picking up close to $3 million or some. So, we can push and pull and get to where we want, and hopefully we will get there soon. So that's all I got. Thank you. And thank you for coming out. And thank you for everybody here. And I hope if you guys are here, I hope I mentioned your company. If not, I apologize. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Joanna or Arlene?
Yeah. Since I guess you're asking each of us how we're polling these people, the one thing I happen to have liked from Kenco is they were the only ones who mentioned a brewery. They mentioned a food
did?
hall, and nobody else, although others drill down on other things, they mention those things. It doesn't bother me that much that they use crayons to do this, because as I understand, people are giving us a general overview of what they would do. So I had put a check mark by Brookfield. It didn't bother me that they didn't have South Florida experience. It does bother me how few thought that the idea that we wanted to maybe move City Hall was not something important enough to put in. Because I've always believed City Hall, the library, a community center, which by the way, is what they thought they built that time. Because it was the teen center, but it never turned out that way. And even if it were the fire or police department, wouldn't bother me over there with all the other things in a little park, because I think we have well outgrown this building from the day they cut the ribbon on it. But yet very few people thought that was important enough. And I thought you made it really clear that that was important to us. So I had put down Brookfield. I had not done Horton because they are heavily residential and I don't expect them to change that. I put a question mark by Kenco because it mentioned the food hall and those kinds of things. I put a check mark by Michael's, and I put 2 question marks by Related because it wasn't a total proposal either. And it bugged me because they know the area. Do I think that Sonnenblick's rendition is not my city? And you certainly don't keep the historic part across the street and then build what looks like the Acropolis on steroids on the other side. So no, that wouldn't do it for me. So I did not check them off. But I'd love to know who you've got here, so we can ask questions if possible, if that's part of this, because you said there were yes, no, maybe?
I'm not sure. I believe there are representatives from
Oh, I thought you
DR
said so.
Horton here. And I don't know who the other representatives are.
Okay, because I didn't know whether or not they wanted to say something based on what they heard, and if not, that's fine with me.
I mean,
Maybe this is just a listening session.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's facts, yeah.
we didn't,
You're off
invite-
the
we
hook.
didn't invite everybody here.
You're off the hook.
We didn't invite everybody here
Okay.
to be able to have that
Okay.
back and forth.
That
So
works.
they all heard it. They'll, incorporate as you
Okay.
see fit. We can go from there.
Okay, and so should I assume then that by people who might be listening today, they might change their submission a little bit for a second thought from us? That
That's,
because
our.
I want it
expectation.
really loud and clear. We are interested in
That's our-
moving some of the buildings, and only one group, I think, actually talked about doing it. And so that's an uphill battle for me to start with. If I say to you, this is what we want to do, and you ignore it, then I wonder if you've listened to anything we've had to say.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt in that it's easy to say you'll do it, which they did, and they got points for listening
I
the
can point
most.
to that.
Yeah.
But I think some of the others, now that they know they're on the short list, we'll aggressively start going after the ALF. We'll aggressively
Or
start
they won't
looking
be
at
on the
city-
short list again.
Right, exactly. I
Yeah.
think
And,
we've been
and
pretty
again,
clear on-
in fairness, we did not make it what I would call a must-have,
Okay,
meaning
it wasn't a mandatory.
it wasn't a mandatory.
Okay.
It was a look around. It would be, we.
More of, give me an idea what you think would fit there, and then we'll
So,
talk
but
about
if
the
there,
rest.
if the direction is stronger and there's more consensus that we want to see it and we make it leaning towards a must-have, then
Okay.
they will incorporate
All
that
right.
or not as they,
And it is the first
Yeah,
time we've
and
ever
I
had a
just-
conversation anyway.
I just want to throw out one more comment in general. Whoever ultimately becomes the final master developer for this project, I know the rush is gonna be, and look, at the end of the day, there's gonna be some residential. I mean, you're not gonna have this without it. But what I don't want to see is all the residential go up first and then the commercial last. I'd like to see at least some portion, some restaurant or brewery or whatever that
A unified
entertainment-
project, a unified.
and it's gonna go up in phases.
Yeah.
But as part of phase one, I want to see some sort of establishment going in. If it's the same time as residential, that's fine. But again, I don't want, because I know when you do this project in phases, it's gonna take several years to build.
we will
And I don't want
have,
the restaurant to be the last phase of the project.
Especially since
And
that's
in
the
addition
20-year
to-
promise.
in
Yeah.
addition to the financials, which will be much more, detailed, and there will be detailed timelines as well, so that they will make certain commitments in terms of the phases and how, elements of the project will be delivered. So that'll be another component
Sure.
of the next round of submissions.
Because the residents really need to know that that 20-year promise is going to be fulfilled, because the 20-year promise was not residential.
Correct, understood.
All right, no more other questions from the, all right, so I think we narrowed it down to,
So I have, Joanne, Commissioner Simone, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Well, actually, there's four of them that I think would be good choices. Brookfield, Related Group, Michaels, and Kenco. What I like about Kenco is I've been to the Delray Marketplace, and I think it's nicely designed. So they have a lot of experience.
Like you could take a field trip. huh?
Oh, yes.
All right, because I've never been, but they were actually winds up the four that I was talking about.
So I'd like to put in Kenco in the short list too.
So right now I have, virtually unanimous for Brookfield, Michaels and Related, and then possibly adding in Kenco to that.
I just think that they're more of a luxury home builder.
I'll give them a chance and see what they come up with.
is that okay? I mean, there were six, right? Correct?
Ken, I'll defer to you. I mean, is four okay to move on?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Again, it's your discretion.
Can we go back to Kenco and Blick for a second? Which one of those is more fiscally, well, I would say all around capable of doing what they say they can do? Because I could almost go with Blick as the fourth one, and then basically we don't have a short list, so I think we really got to narrow it down to three, but.
Well, from the question you asked, I mean, again, I don't have the specifics in front of me. Kenco certainly has a better track record
Okay.
regionally and locally of delivering, again, high quality project. Yes, on the high end, residential side, but to Board Member Simone's, there are some mixed use projects, sprinkled in there. So they have a proven track record of being able to, to execute.
Okay. We got three or four. So you want to do a consensus on the last one? I don't know. To me, it doesn't matter. I mean, I wouldn't mind letting them hear what we've just said, and if they want to resubmit or if they want to go further, it's up to them. To me, the more the merrier.
Okay.
So I have no problem with whatever the board wants to do.
So just for clarity's sake, I would suggest you make a motion to request whichever companies to
Alright.
submit a more detailed proposal in line with
So-
Mr. Krasno's suggestion.
So I'll make a motion and I'll take Joanne's, Commissioner Simone's, Board Member Simone's input. So let's go motion to shortlist, to include Brookfield, Related, Michael's organization and Kenco.
I'll second that.
Okay. Your lights still on, Antonio? or no?
Oh, nope.
So David, we need to open this up to the public then, since we have a motion? Okay. All right, so if anybody from the public would like to come up and put their input in with we're voting on the shortlisting the developers. Yeah, all right. Commission's good? Your board's good? Good, Cal. What's that?
You don't usually take Zoom comments on individual.
We don't usually, it's up, I mean, if you guys want to, let me know. If there's a majority that want to, I'll do it, but I haven't done it.
I'd rather stick with precedent.
Yeah,
Okay.
however you normally do it then.
Okay. Okay. Good, Cal? Anything? All right, call the roll.
Board Member Simone,
Yes.
Board Member Serio,
Yes.
Board Member Schwartz.
Yes,
Vice Chair Caggiano.
Yes.
Chair Zano.
Yes. Okay, with that, it's the last item.
No,
We'll
good.
just go through board member comments. If anybody has anything to say,
just thank you. Ken, my
Yeah.
pleasure.
Joanne, do you want to say anything? Board member comments? Anybody want to say anything? Joanne? Antonio?
It's, I gotta shake myself to make sure I'm not still dreaming. Because I'm going into my 6th year up here as a commissioner. 8 years, including the 2 on planning and zoning. And ever since I can remember, this is something that we've been talking about, and some of us up here have been talking about this even longer than that.
20 years.
So the fact that, this board here, the 5 of us are at this point. I want to thank all of you. I want to thank staff and especially our attorneys that helped us win
That's
our
right.
case.
That's right.
Because, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't expecting to win that. So,
I was.
I'm really excited to see what the next round brings, and hopefully sooner than later, we can, get a project started so that, we're all up here and can be here for the ribbon cutting. That's it.
Board member Schwartz?
So 24 years ago, when he was in junior high school. You're welcome. And I was sitting up here at that particular time. We had charrettes. We had all kinds of things. The only thing is, we didn't have 50 acres. So sometimes something good comes out of an 8-year-long lawsuit. And so and we have learned from other cities about maintaining our own property and being the landlord so that we control what will or will not happen. So I appreciate the fact that I may live long enough to see this happen. And I thank you for bringing these proposals, and the fact that now, because we have the longest stretch of 441 in the county and probably the biggest piece of property to propose for things that now Margate may actually be the destination, rather than what I said in 1989, the city you pass through on your way to somewhere else. So I thank you all for what you've done,
And-
including those people who came who may not be shortlisted. Thank you for coming, because now you have an opportunity to do so. So thanks a lot.
Vice Chair?
Board Member Schwartz. 2016. We've been fighting this since 2016 to make this happen, this dream happen. You didn't think we were gonna win? We hoped we had won, and no, I'm talking.
I knew we were gonna
I'm
win.
looking at Antonio. He was worried, and you never know what's gonna happen in court. You never know what's gonna happen in court, and I understand. Arlene and I changed the dynamics of the board, joining Tommy from being a 4-1 again to a 3-2-4. And we have brought the city to this point where we believe that the future is very, very bright. And I just am excited about looking at these proposals, looking at them in the future and picking out one and saying, let's do it. Let's do it. So we've planted the seeds. We're breaking the ground. Let's make it happen. Chair.
Thank you. Ken, thank you. Thank you for dealing with us. And plus let your people know that I'm not as big a developer as them, but I've been developing in South Florida for over 30 years. And I'm a general contractor. That's why my questions come at a different spectrum than maybe others. So appreciate it. Thank you for everybody for showing up. Board, thank you. Some good times and very excited. Guys, anything? All right. At this time, we will adjourn the meeting. God bless and have a safe week, everybody.